A Real Pain is written and directed by Jesse Eisenberg and stars Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin, and it follows mismatched cousins David and Benji, played by Eisenberg and Culkin respectively, as they reunite for a tour through Poland to honor their beloved grandmother. And while they're doing this, old tensions about themselves and their family history bubble to the surface. You know, this is a movie that I've been excited about for a lot of the year, and my excitement's just slowly been increasing. Ever since Sundance, this movie got a lot of good buzz. It won a screenwriting award there. I loved the idea. I loved that it was 90 minutes. I loved the cast. I was just excited for it, even though my expectations, I didn't really know where they were, but when the first teaser came out, I was like, oh, this movie looks great. The Oscar buzz kept increasing, specifically for Kieran Culkin and the screenplay, and all that anticipation built up to this being the final movie on the final night of IFF Boston Fall Focus at the Brattle. So it wasn't the final night of the whole festival, but at the Brattle it was the final movie, and the house was packed, and it was such a perfect choice. The energy in the room was so great because the energy of the movie was so great and everyone just fed off of it. I loved this movie. I just loved it so much. It's so watchable. And I think a big reason for that is the absolutely incredible chemistry between Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin here. Jesse Eisenberg is doing awesome work. I haven't seen all of his movies from the last 10 years or anything, but this is some of the best work I've seen from him in a long time in terms of acting. He has one scene in particular at a dinner that I found incredibly impressive. He was really great in that scene, and he's awesome in this movie, but the real star of this movie, and the thing that I think people will be talking about, is Kieran Culkin. He is like insanely good in this movie. This is probably my favorite performance of the year. He was so unbelievably good. I was just looking for him every time there was a wide shot. I just wanted to hear what he had to say. And, you know, he really plays the role perfectly of charismatic, fun guy who you love to be around and is so entertaining, so personable, so funny, but you know, he's also a bit of a bum, and, pun intended here, a real pain sometimes. And Culkin plays those scenes so well with all the complexity that his character has, and he has some unbelievably funny line deliveries and moments. Like, made me lose my mind laughing obnoxiously loud. He has the best delivery of "Oh Snap" that I've ever heard in my life. It was so funny, and he can be so funny, and he is for so much of this movie, but when he has to lock in and bring that emotion and the heart and the pain of his character to the performance, he is up for the challenge every time, and he totally activates on it. And I think that he has so much room to give such an amazing performance and dance between these tones so well because of how good Jesse Eisenberg's script is here. I didn't see his first movie. It's definitely something I'm going to be visiting now, though, because he proved himself as an incredible behind-the-camera talent with this movie. I think this script is so good. Eisenberg writes such funny and interesting dialogue, you know, capturing so many little moments and idiosyncrasies that each person, but specifically David and Benji, have. One recurring joke I loved throughout the movie was about how David, who is played by Jesse Eisenberg, has genuinely beautiful feet. Again, the character that is played by Jesse Eisenberg is said to have beautiful feet in the script written by Jesse Eisenberg. Just amazing stuff. And like, he just kind of like went crazy. You know, this is a 90-minute movie, and an undeniably great one at that. I feel like there's lots of 90-minute movies these days that sort of feel like they're missing a little something, or like they can't really measure up as a great movie. Maybe because of their length. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass. I don't know. But this movie's just like excellent all the way through, and it just is also 90 minutes. And Eisenberg really dances that line of humor and pain so well throughout this movie. It could be on a knife's edge at any moment, but he can dial into either one to the exact right level at the exact right moment throughout the whole time. And the strength of the script is shown very much through the relationship between David and Benji. And it's so impressive and so real to life because it understands that when you have big disagreements or big problem areas with someone you love, they're not solved in a day. There's one particular sort of big problem area for David and Benji through the movie, and it's something that happened in the past, and there's a scene late in the movie where it comes up, and it's the moment where they're talking about it. And you're expecting this big movie moment where both characters can say exactly how they're feeling, why they did what they did, what they should do to be better, all in a perfect way, and everything is fixed and happy. But this movie is not like that. It understands that these disagreements are not quite like that. Life's not that easy. Shit is different. It's hard work. It takes time. You can't really find an explanation for things in the moment. It's difficult. It's a real pain. Sorry. But in spite of all that and the fact that they can't really come to a conclusion in this conversation, it's clear that they still love each other so much because that's what it's like in real life. You know, without saying too much, I would say that their relationship at the end of the movie is not in a worse place than it was at the beginning of the movie. And that's because that even though they don't come to a conclusion of this conversation, they start to have it and they open the doors to revisit it in the future and start processing the pain that they're both experiencing. And I think that just is a really big strength of Eisenberg's screenplay here. It's one of my favorites of the year, one of the best. It really should be getting Oscar nominated. It's really fantastic. I also should say, though, as fantastic as the screenplay is, this movie is also very handsomely directed. He's got very solid, sturdy cinematography from Michal Dymak, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that goes along very well with Eisenberg's very solid, sturdy, and non-flashy direction. He clearly kind of wanted the writing and performances to shine in this movie, and I think that was a complete right decision. I think making that decision as such a young filmmaker is just a further signifier of him being a really exciting behind-the-camera talent and someone that I am going to revisit his first movie, and I'm excited to see whatever he does next. I just love this movie so deeply. It's one of the strongest instant connections I've had with a movie all year, and I think a big part of that is because of its perceived simplicity, for lack of a better term, and how approachable it is as a result. You know, the movie's a very tight 90 minutes, its main cast is 2 people, and its central drama is very interpersonal and small scale, and yet its emotional impact, depth, and staying power measures up against and exceeds just about any other movie I've seen this year, no matter what the length. It's great as well because while those longer movies can sort of sometimes demand post-watch analysis to get a full experience, that's not the case with A Real Pain. There's so much depth and discussion to be had, but it stands on its own as an incredibly entertaining, emotional, fun movie experience. And, you know, it just adds to how impressed I am with Eisenberg that this movie is as powerful, deep, and emotional as it is, while simultaneously being incredibly short, sweet, and approachable. It's just freaking fantastic. It feels so good to have a movie like this right now. I was completely taken by it. I love pretty much everything this movie's doing. The Kieran Culkin performance is one of my favorite elements of any movie this year, and one of my favorite performances of the decade so far, without a doubt. I would not at all be upset if he won the Oscar for this, and I really can't wait to see what Jesse Eisenberg is going to be doing behind the camera next. Yeah, I love this movie. Please go see it, whether it's alone, whether it's with someone. You will get something out of this movie. It's so emotional, so funny, so approachable, so beautiful, and just a damn great time at the movies. I would highly, highly, highly recommend A Real Pain. It's one of my tip-top favorites of the year. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye!